Hey everyone, Goldie here. Back on the 5th of March, Ironmace developer SDF held a Q&A session in the Dark and Darker Discord. And for those of you that may not have the time, I'm going to read out the entire Q&A from a document that was put together by So Bad Strange and official Discord warden Nez. I've rearranged some of the questions into similar groups, so let's just jump right into it. What was the most interesting fact that you learned and have acted upon since the last playtest? That the Goblin Cave worked well as we thought. Was the Goblin Cave considered a successful experiment? It was successful in its own way. With the success of solo mode / Goblin Caves, is the intention still to balance the game mostly around group play, e.g. 3v3? First of all, I'm not thinking deeply about balance at this point. Development of the player class is still in its early stages. Is B1 planned for the upcoming playtest? Ruin will be playable this playtest. What's the biggest feature being tested in the next playtest? We're going to try and make sure that the third floor works the way we want it to. Are we able to see a new boss in the next playtest? It seems like everyone has already figured out the current one. It's not in the plan. Existing bosses can be tuned a little more. Any new boss and content in the solo mode next playtest? This time we focus on a different part. Will Lich / Ghost King be in B3 next playtest, or are there plans to move them to B2 now that B1 is being introduced? The floors will be 1F, B1, B2. The bosses will be on the bottom floor anyway. Will B1 ruins have higher loot rates for items like bandages / healing potions / campfires? Will it be a 10-minute map? The item drop in the ruin is still under production, so nothing has been fully decided. Since the answer is not very interesting, adding a little bit of information, we're thinking of testing a fix downstairs. Will drop rarity pace be the same in next playtest? It won't be the same. Will we see the introduction of quests in April? Quests are likely to be excluded this time. Will solo-only maps like the Goblin Caves continue to be a thing? Well, I can tell you that the Goblin Cave will be present in the next playtest. High roller for solo mode next playtest? Well, nothing has been decided yet. Did you feel that the unique artifact weapons were balanced from the high roller bosses? Balance is not always a big consideration. Fun comes first, and it was fun enough. Will there be any new types of weapons, armor, or potions during this next test? New weapons will be added. Things like one-handed crossbows, for example. I heard rumblings about a sling or slingshot as an idea. Can we expect more weapon and utility items for new and existing classes in the near or distant future? Yes, more utilities and weapons will be added. I don't have any specific plans for a slingshot, but I can't imagine not having one. Any chances to have katanas as weapons in game? Well, if it suits medieval fantasy. Any new potion or trap? I'm not sure, but I'm thinking of adding a little bit this time. Is there any possibility that the new items using magical interaction speed that should allow any class to use tiny spells being released in the next playtest. Most likely. Any plans to add more dynamic environmental pitfalls to the existing maps to give players another way to kill players? Like loose boulders, ability to push over bookcases, or more environmental type obstacles? Of course, we plan to focus a little on that side this time. What nerfs and buffs should we expect in classes for the next playtest? Well, I don't really like to talk about balance, but if I'm going to talk about my thoughts right now, rogues are a little bit tough these days. I want to give rogue a more diverse and lethal play. Are there any up-and-coming rogue changes? If so, what can we expect? Our current plan is to put more fun features into rogue. Any plans to make different types of rogue poisons? For example, a poison that reduces player healing or slows? Of course. Will clerics get any range weapon next playtest? Unfortunately, no. Are there going to be changes for the ranger and fighter upcoming playtest? Fighters will get some new perks and skills. If everything goes according to plan, we will give the ranger an arrow. Any hints at what is going to be changed for wizard for the next playtest? Wizards won't have major changes other than a few balance tweaks. Have there been any considerations or thoughts with the wizards since the statistics and gameplay of the last playtest? Wizards were fun enough. However, doing meditation too often is too inconvenient when playing the game, leaving the balance, so it was adjusted as a hotfix. We knew the combination of wizards and barbarians was strong, but the number of wizard players in the previous few playtests was too small, so we left it as is. Now it's going to be a little tweaked. Will there be balancing to the barbarian class, or are you all happy with where the class is, with the information from the previous playtest and statistics? Overall, moderately satisfied. For fun, there are parts that are intentionally left a bit strong until players discover them. There were also some unexpected parts that were too strong. These parts will be tweaked a bit. However, as new perks and skills will be added, another balance issue will arise. Is there a possibility of the early access being released directly after the next playtest is over? After the next playtest, early access is pretty close. This has probably been answered, but if I'm not mistaken, early access is pretty much after the end of the next playtest. It will not immediately follow the end of the playtest. Any idea as to early access date and price? This is currently undecided. Early access won't be far off. How much will the game sell for in the future? As many people have opinions about this, we also have various thoughts. This is just my shallow thinking. I don't like it when people who buy a game first lose the value of their purchase due to excessive discount rates in the future. We will try to have a reasonable price, but it will be impossible to please everyone. I think most people from non-main countries want to know if Ironmace/Steam will work with price localization or if it will cost $30 to $40 globally. I mean, direct conversion to the currency. Any decisions about this? There are concerns about this. It's a bit early to say this at this stage. We ask for players' understanding. Will you be keeping some form of leaderboard for people to grind for when early access is released? As always, the leaderboard is provisionally provided for playtesting purposes. Nothing has been decided. Will there be a ladder system / seasonal to keep competitive aspects fresh? Seasons will exist, and we are thinking about a ladder system. Current leaderboards force people to play too long and tire them out too easily. This approach most likely won't continue beyond early access. Will there be scheduled wipes after the full release of the game? Yes, it will be wiped periodically. Can we have a separate looking for group lobby for High Roller? I consistently get invited to NM groups while trying to find a HR group. That's a good idea. Are there plans to add a friends list or integrate the Steam friends list? We have a plan, but it's a low priority. Any plan to introduce an in-game chat only for the group? We had a plan, but we are at a standstill because we have a few issues to think about. Any ideas on how to make the multi-level map, i.e. Goblin Caves, more legible for a player who doesn't already know the map layout? That's a challenge for us too. I have some ideas, but haven't had the time to experiment with them yet. Using a multi-layered map to show each one separately, etc. Are you going to expand the single-player system now that 32 players will be available as well? As of the current plan, the capacity for admission will not be 32. Do you ever plan to increase team size for a bigger map or bigger boss, or have considered it? It's in progress. I don't want to do something soulless and fast producing, but I also don't want to frustrate players by being too slow. Will there be improvements made to the trade system to increase the efficiency of trading for individuals as well as between players? We intend to continuously improve the trading system. Have you guys ever thought about adding a PvE only mode for those casual players that just want to roleplay and have fun with their friends in a completely separate loot table from the PvPvE servers? There are currently no plans. Can we expect to see changes in the player/NPC and player/player collision? I'm not sure if I understood correctly. If this is about the collision between two characters walking and bumping into each other, we have no intention of changing that at this moment. How high on the priority list is implementing the talents tree? It's still a low priority until we've developed enough perks and skills, etc. Ever thought about reworking a few skills that aren't used by players? Yes, I'm constantly thinking about it. For example, Rogue can continuously use Pickpocket while hidden. Is there a new character confirmed? If so, what character? Bard. However, it is unknown when it will be released at this time. What about the Bard for next playtest? The Bard is definitely in development. I can't be sure. Can you give us a little hint about Bard class playstyle? Play music with your instrument. Musical instruments are played directly by the player through control. The result will depend on how the player plays. Have you thought about creating a new stat constitution to make strength less powerful? It's an interesting idea, but I'm going to stick with it for now. Will there be more time in the pre-game lobby to test out stats? If not, will there be a practice lobby in upcoming tests? Not yet. Are there plans for a playable tutorial or training hub of some kind in order to learn a weapon moveset before setting out or checking damage numbers of spells without losing them in the tavern? I don't know if it will be like a training hub, but I want to create a place where players can practice and check the amount of damage. This is unfortunately a low priority since we have to create the basics of the game first. Will there be a map size enlargement hotkey or full map hotkey? About map. It is planned, priority is low. Do you plan on releasing more maps in the future? We plan to continue adding dungeons. Any word on the unused assets / animations for all them demons and that fuzzy spider? Those NPCs are likely to be developed in the future. Mobs for outdoorsy map would be like what? Tree ants, fairies, gnolls, etc. What types should we look forward to seeing? Perhaps the monsters you can meet in the ruins hidden in the forest. Have you considered monsters having more randomized spawns instead of preset fixed spawns every time? It's already designed to do that. After the basics are done, we'll take care of that. Will you ever release drop rate / spawn rate data for different item rarities? If the players want it and we're ready, however, it seems that a lot has already been revealed by reversing data mining. Would you guys go for a smaller hitbox race such as a dwarf at any point? We left it open for experimentation in the form of race. The race, which has a small hitbox like the dwarf, is something to test out. However, if this breaks the balance too much, I will remove it. However, this experiment will be possible in the very distant future. Any plans to add a backpack to gather more loot in dungeons or extra stash tabs? We are going to experiment with the backpack system, but not right now. Are pocket slots going to be useful this next playtest? If pocket slot refers to the currently empty slot on the bottom of the backpack, not this time. Have you considered increasing stash size or adding cases like in Tarkov? Well, this is still unknown. Will you up the capacity of the gold pouch or add more slots for trades? As mentioned before, the gold bags and gold chests are already in development, but not yet released for economic balance reasons. It's very likely that it won't be revealed this time either. I am an Asian player. Everyone knows that cheating is a serious problem in Asia. Do you have a solution? We plan to test some more features to defend against cheaters. There are things we want to try on the gameplay side of things other than simply making cheats not work. What is your plan to not end up how Tarkov is now with all the cheaters? Fighting cheaters is our destiny and one of our biggest challenges. It is impossible to 100% defend against cheaters in FPS games, but we will not spare any investment in defending against this. Do you know about Valorant's anti-cheat Vanguard is very powerful for anti-cheater? Maybe you can learn from it. I won't say we can do it as well as they do, but it is possible for us to create very powerful security modules that work at the kernel level. But hackers are also very strong, so they too will come and fight at the same level. Therefore, it is not omnipotent. In view of Escape from Tarkov YouTube cheater, are there better countermeasures against cheating and RMT? Well, first of all, we strongly oppose RMT, but we're worried about whether it's possible to completely block it. I can't speak to a Dark and Darker specific solution at this point, but we'll try our best. What are your plans for monetization features? A monetization model that players can understand. Does monetization include anything like a battle pass or cosmetic shops? This is difficult to answer as it has not yet been fully decided. The topic of monetization in Dark and Darker has been a very heavily discussed one in the Discord over the last several weeks and has led to a lot of arguing and speculation. It would help a great deal if we had some sort of an idea of possible examples of what monetization might look like or what it might not look like. It's hard to say right now because we haven't fully decided either. What are your plans on future monetization in order to keep servers running and the like? Or do you plan on completely relying on the game sales alone? Game sales alone can't cover the cost of running servers on an ongoing basis. We need to generate revenue at a level acceptable to our players. There is absolutely no pay to win. What is the priority of making your own custom quality textures for monsters and dungeons? To make it work on low-end computers as much as possible while maintaining a pleasing quality. Do you have any thoughts on releasing the official API, example, search for PvP log? I would like to add an API so that statistics sites can utilize it. Unfortunately, there is no time to develop it now. Do you have a fast open plan? Sorry, doesn't exist. Sufficient development time is always needed. Are you hiring? We are hiring, but hiring overseas members is very difficult. Also, there were no more seats in the office. We've made our desks closer. Now we can get closer to the members behind our backs. Do you intend to have some sort of creators program to expand game marketing and reach? If so, any idea when the plan will be implemented and what the requirements will be to join? We can't afford to think about this yet. We are still understaffed. Is there anything you, as a developer, are personally excited about or looking forward to? There are so many things I want to write that I can't write them all. To put it simply, I hope that the day will come when players can enjoy the stories and tales of Dark and Darker that are currently being prepared. Are your words under About Us on your official website coming from the heart? It is our foundation and the path we walk will prove it. To add some context to that, I'm going to read their About Us section. About us. We are a merry band of veteran game developers disillusioned by the exploitative and greedy practices we once helped create. We are experts who have worked on many of the biggest hits in Korea. We've seen firsthand how corporate game companies sell their soul for the easy payday. We are disappointed to see them doubling down on more and more exploitative practices, becoming more like casinos instead of bringing joy to gamers. We're fighting to win back the hearts of gamers around the world. We believe that by creating games with soul and by respecting our users, we can usher in a renaissance of awesome video games direct from Korea. Parting words from SDF. It took me a long time to answer because I'm not familiar with English. I'm sorry I couldn't answer more questions, and I also apologize for not being able to answer questions in the language of each country. Please understand that I am choosing English to reach as many people as possible. There will be some parts that are lacking in answers. I ask for your understanding. Please enjoy it just for fun. Thank you for always showing a lot of interest in Dark and Darker. And that's it, folks. Thanks again to So Bad Strange and official Discord warden Nez for putting together the document. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. And thanks to my buddy Jono for giving me permission to use his game footage. Until next time, stay safe. Ciao.